Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle an age-old summer mystery. You know the one. Why do some of us seem to be absolute mosquito magnets, while others don't get a single bite? We're going to use science to figure out exactly why you might be getting literally eaten alive at the park, or maybe out on the sports pitch, while your mate standing right next to you is completely untouched. I mean, it feels totally unfair, doesn't it? Well, as we'll see, it's actually not bad luck at all. It's straight-up biology.
Section 1. The Ultimate Unsolved Mystery. We're going to step into the shoes of the predator and see exactly how they hunt their prey, kind of like nature's tiny detectives.
Because, honestly, we've all asked this exact question after hanging out outside with our friends. You're there, scratching your ankles, totally miserable, while your mate hasn't been bitten even once. You've probably heard those old myths, right? Like, oh, it's just because your blood is sweeter, or it's because of what you ate for breakfast. But science tells us a completely different and honestly a way more fascinating story.
So a mosquito's hunt actually happens in 3 distinct phases. They don't just blindly fly around hoping to randomly bump into a snack. No way. They execute a highly coordinated 3-step tactical mission. First, they smell you from a massive distance. Second, as they get closer, they use their vision to spot you. And third, right before they land, they actually feel your body heat.
Section 2. Following the Invisible Trail. Let's look at the first clue and see how this predator begins its long-range hunt.
Every single time you exhale, you are creating a chemical path pointing right to your location. You see, when we breathe in oxygen, our cells use it for energy in a process called respiration. You've probably covered that in biology class. And then we breathe out a waste gas called carbon dioxide, or CO2. To us, it's totally odorless and invisible. But to a hungry mosquito, man, every breath you take is like puffing out a giant cloud of colored smoke that just screams, hey, a living, breathing human over here.
And you have to think about their superpower for a second. They can detect that breath from up to 50 meters away. That is basically half the length of a football pitch. You could literally be on one side of the school field, and a mosquito all the way on the other side can smell your breath blowing in the wind. They follow this invisible CO2 plume in a zigzag pattern, just tracing it right back to the source. Back to you.
Which brings us to a really major difference in behavior. If you are running around, maybe playing a game of football or just pushing yourself hard in PE, you are breathing way heavier and pumping out so much more carbon dioxide. You are leaving a massive trail for them to follow. Compare that to a mate who's maybe just sitting quietly on the grass scrolling on their phone. Right out of the gate, the most active people in the group are sending out the loudest signal.
Section 3. The smells on your skin. Now, carbon dioxide just gets them to the right general area. Next, they use special tools to pick their specific target.
Mosquitoes have these incredible little sensors on their antenna called olfactory receptors. That's really just the fancy scientific term for tiny smell detectors. Once the CO2 brings them to your group of friends, they switch to sniffing out specific chemicals right on your skin. One of their absolute favorites is lactic acid. This is a chemical your muscles produce when you exercise, and it gets pushed right out through your sweat.
So, your unique body chemistry basically acts like a giant homing beacon. We all naturally produce different amounts of lactic acid and other skin chemicals, creating what's basically a chemical fingerprint. If your genetic makeup naturally produces more of these specific compounds, well, you are essentially wearing a glowing sign that says, I am the most delicious person here. Bite me. Section 4. Dressing for a bug bite. Once they get close enough to actually see you, your fashion choices become the next big clue in their investigation. Because, yeah, mosquitoes use their eyes too.
To a mosquito's eyes, dark clothes look like a giant neon sign. When they're flying low to the ground, they look up for silhouettes that contrast sharply against the lighter sky. So if you're wearing a black t-shirt or, say, your dark Navy school uniform, you create this very sharp, highly visible contrast. But if you're wearing white or light pastel colors, you actually blend into the background horizon much better, which makes it way harder for their simple eyes to lock onto you.
Section 5. The final heat check. Okay, so they've smelled your breath, they've sniffed your sweat, and they've spotted your dark t-shirt. What exactly happens next?
Right before they touch down, they do a final check for body heat just to make absolutely sure you are a living, breathing target. At this point, they're only a few inches from your skin. They act exactly like tiny heat-seeking missiles, using specialized thermal receptors to detect the warmth radiating off your body. They use this invisible heat map to find the perfect place to land, right where the blood is flowing closest to the surface. And this perfectly explains why playing hard makes you the perfect, warm landing pad compared to someone who has cooled off. If you've just finished running around the park, your skin is flushed, it's hot, and it's radiating thermal energy. You're basically a giant glowing bullseye compared to your mate, who's been chilling in the shade with cooler, dry skin.
Section 6. How to hide. So now that we understand exactly how their detective skills work, how do we use this biology to hide?
Here are your simple, actionable rules to basically become invisible to this predator, all based on the science we've just covered in this explainer. First, try to cool down quickly after playing so you aren't radiating so much heat. Second, swap the dark hoodies for light-colored clothing so you don't stand out visually. And third, if you've been sweating, taking a quick shower to wash off that lactic acid completely removes your unique chemical fingerprint. It's really all about making yourself the hardest target to find in your group of friends.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought about how nature is constantly adapting. If we use science to completely hide our signals today, evolution ensures that tomorrow's predators might just develop a brand new way to hunt us down. It's like this never-ending biological game of hide and seek. So, what do you think they'll adapt to sense next? Something to think about. Anyway, stay cool, wear those light colors, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.